Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Um, Let me know if I am not audible. Um, it does appear that my audio is on, so I assume I'm audible, but weirder things have happened. Um, anyway, so I don't really have a particular thing in mind for this stream. I think I'm just going to kind of play the game and work on things that I see are broken. I might also look into potentially implementing like a heal art. We'll have to see. But those are kind of the ideas I'm looking at for now. I'm going to go ahead and move some windows here real quick just so I can see uh, the chat better. Actually, you know what? I don't even need OBS open right now, so I'm going to just do this. All right. Hello, thank you for joining. Haven't really started yet, so I'm just about to do that now. I changed up my monitor setup a little bit here, so you might see my head kind of moving back and forth. So let's go ahead. Okay, yeah, so if I try to do that, so I implemented this yesterday, that little attack. There is a bug that I found yesterday. Seems like it happens when I'm swapping weapons. At some point, like, the character gets soft locked and I can't do anything. It might just happen kind of naturally. If it does, then I can just kind of try to debug that as we go. But I don't really have a clear way to recreate it yet. All right. All right. All right. Just play through the game real quick. So I have this shine attack now. Swap. Okay. I'm just playing through the game at the moment, just kind of feeling out what needs to be done. All right. Yeah, if that bug shows up, it'll just show up and I'll just have to look at it. All right. So one thing I could do is like a healing animation, just to kind of illustrate what's going on here. Okay, it might be a little hard to see this, so I'll increase it. So just to show a couple things I've done since the last time we streamed. So I went away on vacation, but I did some work. Actually, I did kind of work on it a little bit while I was on vacation, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so I did a little bit of reorganizing, and I'll talk about this in a video. Hopefully I can make one at some point this year. But I'm still tweaking this organization structure. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. So this is like the primary folder structure. There's the add-ons, which is just kind of where everything I download for the add-ons folder goes. Assets is going to be raw assets. It's going to be like animations, fonts, some sprites and stuff. This folder will actually eventually diverge. It will it'll go into this entities folder. So entities is folder where everything is kind of self-contained relative to like what's to the entity specifically. So here's a good example. So here's Kyla. Everything that goes to Kyla goes here. So here's her base scene. Here's her scene for battle. Here's the scene for the field, which will go there eventually. Here's the data. Here's the data block for her, and then here's our 3D model. So did the same thing for enemies, although the test enemy is really just in the game itself. Eventually, when I actually make enemy 3D models, it'll all kind of look similar. This environment stuff, I might move this around once I get some more development on that. The weapons, this is kind of where all the weapons would go. Anything that's shared between the weapons goes here as well. So there's like this weapon model. I could probably move this to scripts as well, but my goal with this organization structure is to keep things that are closely related to each other as close to their assets and scenes as possible. It's not always going to work in practice. There's going to be some things where it's like, oh well, I gotta have this globally shared thing that goes to the weapons, but it's something else. It's like it might diverge in some spots, but the goal is hopefully everything's as close to each other as possible. Hello, welcome, hola. And then every bow, swords. These are all just 3D models. There's the bows here. And again, a script specific to bows is right here. Bows work differently because you have to specify what their arrow is. They have the animation tree because they rely on the... What I was going to say. Actually, I can just go back to Godot and show you there. So like the bow has this arrow mesh, which is right here. So we wanted to capture that. Get the model here. We got this animation tree because I can control the bow's pullback. So on and so forth. Yeah, so how am I doing? Not too shabby, actually. Doing okay. But feel a little bit better. On some new medication. Been seeing a couple of doctors and getting some help. So doing okay. Still got a little ways to go. But I'm definitely feeling a lot more like energized. Still a bit tired though, but we're getting somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, so this entities folder is going to be basically everything that's like an entity. Features is going to be like the battle system goes here. The like field systems and stuff will all go in here. Yeah, and then resources. So resources is going to also kind of move around at some point too. This is supposed to be for like Godot related resources. I might combine the assets and resources folders. There's going to be some shared animations and stuff too. And then scenes is going to be like all like individual levels and stuff. So these are the ones that will be loaded in. Primarily the battle scene. The idea here is mostly I'll craft these together. And then there will have to be a scene navigation system. And then scripts will be anything that doesn't really belong to an entity or a specific thing. This is kind of like auto loads or globals. Data would be like all the data models. These could potentially move the entities too, but I think it's fine here. Editor, this is going to be like editor scripts I'm going to write. And then there's some other global stuff that's not an auto load. So these are not singletons. They're just like static functions. And then tests is where the unit tests will go. I'm still working on like how exactly I want to do the unit tests. So I don't have a whole lot there yet. But that's kind of where it is. Yeah, about what my game's about. So it's going to be I guess the high level is that it is a hybrid turn-based action RPG. And as far as like story goes, it's about some characters who go to a new world, and the world is powered by a force called Aura, which is basically 3 different colors. And they enhance your physical, mental, or spiritual abilities. And based on how you invest your aura in a character, their growth will be influenced by it. So it could influence like all the different skills they learn. It can influence their stats. It can influence even some things down to their personality. So, and even somewhat to their appearance potentially. So that's the idea of the game. And there's going to be there's going to be a story in there as well. It's going to kind of some themes about like, following your dreams and issues with that and so on and so forth. Yep, it's an RPG. A lot more like a JRPG than anything else. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. So, oops. The game blows up if I change the scale to screen in the editor window. All right. All right, so I did the organization thing. I also implemented some additional features. So what did I implement? So I did the shine animation, which is what I just showed you. I improved arrows a little bit. So the arrows instead will follow a parabolic curve, which does mean that you can miss. So if like your arrow misses, which I think is okay. I'll have to play around with the game feel on that, because it might throw people off, be like, wait, why did it not hit? But eventually I'm going to put a system in where it's like, okay, your attacks are going to have a range, and the bow's range should be like 10 tiles or something like that. So, so it will change. some spiritual arts, like the shine that you just saw, um, will have a range too, even though they just auto snap to the enemy. So, a lot of the other stuff that I've done was behind the scenes. I did a lot of refactoring. I was trying to make it so that it would be a lot easier to handle pauses, delays, switching, and stuff like that. So like when the enemy dies or when the player finishes their turn, the controller handles that rather than the player and the enemy themselves. That way I could synchronize the delays and then it would be, less prone to breaking. Like for example, if an enemy dies and a player, or if a player uses, ends their turn at the same time, it should be able to handle that. Have I considered using Unity? I have a long time ago. I was just not the biggest fan of Unity. I just didn't really enjoy the user experience of it as much. I switched over to Godot and I just really like the user experience of Godot, even though it is limited in the feature set that it has, but it has been slowly getting there. There's a lot of features. There's not a whole lot of features left that I feel like it lacks. They just added stencil buffers in 4.5, so that was one of the things off my list. So I think making a game kind of like a big scope like mine and Godot could also be valuable in a way to see like what the engine needs. So it's we'll have to see. But as far as I know, I haven't had a lot of my major roadblocks have been closed from like what Godot lacks. So my plan is to stick with Godot as long as I can. And then we'll just have to see. Performance also hasn't been an issue either, at least from what I've seen. I'm also running a pretty powerful PC, so it's going to be hard for me to see that. But yeah, performance hasn't really been too much of a problem either. Turn it into a short anime. I like that. I always thought about making like an anime off of my game too, but like I am not the best drawer or animator, so it's like, yeah, would have to outsource that if that was ever a thing. Anyway, so have some options here. So here's my Trello board. Some stuff that I added here in the backlog. I have some design stuff. I'm not going to focus on the design stuff here on the stream. Thinking maybe we'll look at this, the heal art thing. The enemy status UI thing, it just means like add more data to the screen. Like whenever we switch enemies. That will probably happen a bit later because I wanted to do a little more enemy design stuff first. So for the heal art, this kind of has a couple of avenues we can go. Is one would be making an animation for it. So the character will have to animate. The second would be creating a little bit of a particle effect. And then third is putting in the system to let me target allies. So we could maybe start looking at that. Okay, so yeah, the good thing you know more or less about animation, but promise when models deforms. Yeah. I guess it depends on how you rig the character too. If you're making like a Pixar style animation, yeah, you probably will have a lot of expression in there. Um, but that's good. You know about animation, so that's pretty solid. Let me pull Blender real quick. So we'll make a quick and dirty animation. Um, Thinking just like a simple thing where like she kind of goes like this and then like that to do a heel. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go here to her idle. We gotta find a couple of reference poses. Hey, where's my compose mode? Where's all my frames? Range. Okay. Okay. Yeah. There's a. Oh. Here we go. Yeah, low poly models are a good way to go too. It's a lot easier to focus on the essentials of low poly models. The higher poly they get, the more complicated they get. Alright, so I'm just going to collect this first frame here. And we're going to make a new animation. Actually, I just do this. I'm just going to call this skill heal 1. I created a naming convention for the animations. So let's see. So I'm going to just go ahead. We'll make it 60 frames for now. And then we're going to just put a couple of keyframes in here. And we'll try to do some. So let's see. So if she goes like this, grab the hand. Okay, yeah, I gotta do her fingers got a little bit messed up here. This finger right here. Yeah, there are some deformation issues as you can see here, like with her arm. That's fine. It's just kind of tedious to fix that. Okay, and then there's like a. Okay, there's a lot of controls available on right now. Let me. Fingers. And yeah, I think. Okay, and then detail. There we go. Our fingers are back to where they should be. Okay. Go to hand key. So should be praying kind of. like that, right? And then I can go ahead and... This animation's not going to be good, by the way. It's just going to be very quickly done. Can always make the animations better later. Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. It's still going to be quite some time before I get any videos out. But I do hope to at least get something before the end of the year. But for now, we're just going to stick with streaming and working on the game and just going with the flow here. Alright, anyway, so let's see, maybe I can kind of do that right here. Yeah. I'm also going to tweak her head. Oh wait, face, no, torso. So she's going to be... Oops. Oops. That does not look good. Okay, weird. Alright. Yeah, but that's... I guess it's not too bad. Her head's a little bit... Why is that happening? Huh. That's fine. I'll just do it this way. Yeah, it looks okay. We can move her chest down a bit. Maybe move her... Okay, so she's got a... Oh, crap. Alright, hold on. Alright, I need to keyframe it. Did you do the full body or just the parts that would be seen? Well, I did the full body, but I did remove the parts that you wouldn't see. So like basically everything covered by her jacket and her shirt. Just to remove some like polygons and stuff. Okay. So I need to put everything back on. Make a keyframe, so now she goes like that. Okay. And then put another one kind of like right here where she's going to raise her hand. Oops. My case stretch should be... Why is it doing that? Okay, it should be like that. There we go. Alright. Uh-oh, it's the other way. Alright. Should be like that. I gotta do the finger tweaks. Finger detail. There we go. yeah, so okay, and then let's go ahead and do, oops, need the shoulders as well. Okay, and then this is, oops. Yeah, there's still some problems with the rig. Does it rotate or do I just grab it? I would think I would rotate it, yeah. This is going to turn IK stretch off probably here. Where would that be? Here we go. So our hand would go all the way up. Probably a little bit forward a bit. I also want her to go on her toes. Let's go ahead and get the legs. Something like that. And nope, don't want to stretch. All right, so the legs. Nope. Okay, now I could do. Okay, yeah, so a little bit leaning forward, right? I can give her a hand like that. This one can be kind of out. Actually, IK stretch should go off too. Yep. And then, so now we should have. I'm going to actually remove. Okay. So something weird is this arm is doing some weird things. Okay, so this arm rotation should be all R. So it's all right. And then we're going to do so yeah, it's all right. One okay, yep. And then her head's gotta go up again. Is this for the ultimate? No. Not at the moment. This is just a regular heal art. There'll be a couple of like ultimate attacks that you unlock throughout the game. They all vary in effectiveness too. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is, so she's leaning like that. I'm gonna go ahead and just keyframe out all of it. So now we got okay, so now I'm going to do here add a couple of. So what's cool is I can do this. And then here I can do, yes. Yeah, this is for a game. Just making a dumb little animation. So let's see. There is a tool. Let me see where I can find in-betweens. Push pose. Okay. So I want to do that here. Pose, push pose. I'm going to do add quick relax pose, push pose. Okay. So I need to do push pose. I'll swap it. Oops. Pose, Shift D. So now it should be, and then this one, Shift D here. Here I want to do a push pose. And we want to relax it a little bit. Actually, this one I'm going to do. And I should move this. Let's see. I'm going to move you kind of in here. Okay, yeah. It definitely lacks some stuff, but I could probably make the prey part a little longer too. This guy can go. I'll make it actually a little bit longer here. Should probably turn her hips in a little bit. Her arms should go out a little bit like this. Alright, we'll just do 50. And I just gotta stretch the pose. Okay, now this one I'm just gonna do push pose. Yep. Move the arm, this. This guy will go in frame 48, this will go frame 38. Okay. Okay, yeah, I gotta remove this. I'm gonna move her down a little bit. 10 2. Alright, then her. Let's go kind of more in this arc here. One sec. Yeah, let's see. Say, think the arm should be a little slower. Which one we think in particular? Was it the one high up? Or was it the, this one, right? Oops. So this one I actually want to make it like... Okay, this one I'm do 40 to 60. Yeah. Make it 90 frames too. Again, it's not great, but it's something. Alright, put that fake animation on there. Yeah, it's not fantastic, but it's okay. Here's what I'll do. The animations arts. I'm gonna move this at some point. Let's see. Animation, action filter, just everything. It's gonna be just this one. So I should have an animation. Okay, so the animation's there, that's good. So now this becomes a animation library. Should be core skills in. Save animation save paths. Yep, should be text. Okay, so now we have a healing animation. I go just to test this real quick. Go to animation player. I can go ahead and just add. Just so we can see it. Yep, it works. Yeah, her fall down should probably be a little bit slower. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's one thing that I could see. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is, let's just make sure I have the settings right. Yep, 60 FPS. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's just kind of slow because I made it 90 frames long. Okay, but that's fine. We can see the animation. Okay, yeah. This one actually doesn't need this. Could delete reset poos. Should be fine. Yep. All right. Yeah, you need a good graphics card. Yeah, and they're more expensive these days too and stuff. Although there are pretty like decent mid-budget ones that would definitely get the job done. It's just that they'll take a long time to render. But I was like, as far as just like working on stuff, you could definitely make it work. Mine's a what is it, 7900 XT. It's a AMD card. I got it a couple years ago. Oh, yours blew up last night? Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. That's a that's yeah, it's not cheap either to replace either. Well, I hope you're able to find what you need. I don't know what kind of graphics card you were using prior to that. The only good thing now is that, like, at least with the market, is like as they make new graphics cards, the older ones should get a bit cheaper. So, hopefully, you're able to find one. Yeah. GT 730 card. Yeah, that might be an old card. I'm not sure. Let's see. Alright, so we got this heal animation. Okay, the other thing I want to do is update the data. So the entities, the arts. This is heal skill, right? The animation is going to be here. Animation scene. So in the short term, instead of making a whole new heal animation, I'm going to go ahead and copy the one from Shine over. That goes here. So now heal's got an ally target type. The strike frame. Let me look at the frame data here. So when her hand raises, that's frame 50. That's when that should probably go off. Then she can cancel it. Put at frame 80. R cost 3, energy cost, yeah, that's fine. I guess we'd have a might, yeah. Attack range, yeah, it's target. Weapon, no weapon, damage type. Healing. What would I consider healing? Maybe spiritual? Yeah, I'll say spirit. Art type skill, yep. Okay. Alright, so let's see what happens. If I do 1, 2, 3. So the heal targets the enemy right now, as I expected. But the animation works okay. I can't be too upset with that. So now she does that. I could actually make the animation a bit faster. But we'll do it that way. Okay, so we have to program the ability to target allies. So it would be very similar to the way the enemy targeting works. So it's like, here's the enemy targeting. So this is probably the more complex part of the puzzle. What I could do is start by just making the heal target herself, and then it has to do healing damage. Would be funny to see if it damages herself. So let's go ahead. Okay, some stuff here. All right. Somewhere in here I have with the art. So there's this create art, right? So what I'll need to do is make a similar function here that says heal. Current target is the enemy. It looks easier than Unity. Yeah. UE5 does kind of go over my head a bit, though. I haven't messed with it too much, but I've looked at that user interface and I'm just like, where is everything? What does this do? like it's a good engine, good reliable engine for making games. But I like Godot because I don't have to think as much. So I'm thinking right here is where I would say to do add logic to check if the player should assist an ally or attack. Yes. So it's going to be art.type. Art type, okay. So I'm going to look at my art stuff here. There's art type, basic attack, skill, special, damage type. So I'm just thinking where I want this to be. I like VS Code because VS Code has a number of shortcuts that I can use that the inbuilt script editor doesn't. For example, I can do like, it's better at multi-editing. Like I can, like if I have like current target, I can just do something like that. I also use this in my day job, so I'm just much more, I guess, proficient with using VS Code over the inbuilt script editor. Not that the inbuilt script editor is bad. I just feel like VS Code I like it better. Yeah. It's funny to me because I think like programming is actually like one of the lowest barriers to game development. And I say that just because I've seen stories of people who are like artists who've built their own games and they basically learned programming to build their own game. I think it's a lot harder for a programmer to learn art than it is an artist to learn programming. But I'm not trying to discount you. Programming is a completely different discipline. And some people don't have the brains wired that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. As someone who is a programmer, I find that my brain works well with the way programming works, but with art, I don't always have the visualization ability to like see if something's good or bad. Or sometimes I just can't really visualize exactly what, I need to do. I think in some ways it's related to just kind of like if you're a left brain or right brain kind of person. That being said, there's resources to learn either programming, art, etc. There's just so much resources out there anymore, so anyone could do anything really. But like, yeah, what I'm trying to say is like, don't feel bad if it just doesn't click with you. It's like, it's not for everybody. But at least that how to do art is a great thing because, I guess I technically do art, but it's far from my strongest ability. There's plenty of demand for artists in making video games, so it's so that's good. It's yeah, programming also just kind of requires like a understanding of how computers work, and it's very literal. The code does exactly what you tell it to do, so it's a little bit. It takes some getting used to. Anyway, what was I going to look at? So I'll go ahead and all right. So let's take a look at this function here. I'm just going to stub one out here. assist for now. And yeah, I'm just going to do... Yeah, ChatGPT, Copilot, ChatGPT, any of those tools are extremely useful, but they are, at the same time, very, they're not as good as people think they are. How long did it take me to program? Or how long have I been programming? Quite a long time, actually. I think when I first started getting into game development, I used Game Maker, so a lot of that stuff was still drag and drop features. But I eventually kind of forced myself to learn the scripting language there. That was probably like 2000, what would I say, like 2008, 2009. I was able to write code on my own when I learned Flash ActionScript. It wasn't good code, mind you. It was pretty bad. But I could write code and I could get things to work in the game. So it was, let's see, so it's been a long time, like 15, 17 years I've been programming. I've been programming professionally since, I guess you could say, 2016. So my day job, I'm a software engineer. But I did have 3 years of internship before that, so you can add that on that list. How long it took me to learn programming? I think actually what really made programming a lot easier for me to learn was the fact that I used Game Maker and I learned the drag and drop features, because that teaches you the logic. And knowing how computer logic works is half the battle. The rest of it is just like, understanding the syntax of your programming language. I think it's just different strokes for different folks, though. Like, I'm a much more, technical person. I gravitate much more toward programming and technical things. I do have a creative side, but it's definitely not as honed as the technical side. Yes, I think where ChatGPT is very useful is the ability to walk you through certain things. It's basically a better Google search. It's not always correct, but it's still an extremely helpful productivity tool. Especially if you've been, especially if you do, especially if you are using it at a day job or you're learning a language from scratch. It's really useful. I just learned how to use Go language at work, and it was very useful for that because I could have it generate an example rather than trying to go and Google it. And sometimes it would work, but I could just plug it right into the code and see if it actually worked or not. So yeah, I've been programming for quite some time. Yes. For what it's worth, I am 31 years old, so I've been programming since I was basically at the end of middle school. So however long that is. Okay, so I made this assist stub here, right? I want to look at the archetype stuff. I'm going to just try to think about exactly how I want to configure this. Alright. Archetype skill. So I think I might do an art subtype. Not sure. Because I kind of wanted to keep this as these are the 4 tiers of attacks. But I don't know. Alright. here's what I'll do. Um, I'm gonna step away, grab a drink. I'll be back. We can think about how to configure this attack. Or not attack. Alright, I'm back. Yeah. I did get my degree in um, information technology, and I was focused on development. So I did a little bit of Java, C++, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did get a little bit of language exposure there. At my internship, I did .NET. Um, Nowadays, I do a lot of Go. Um, I've also done a lot of JavaScript, TypeScript stuff. Anyway, all right, where was I? Okay. So damage type. I can probably put healing here. I think that's what I'll do. Um, yes, we'll do it that way. Well, let's save. Okay, so I did change to enum. Good look and see. Let's reload. No, I didn't update the enum. I'll close Godot and open it back up. Do I have a Steam page? Not yet. The game's way too early in development. I don't think it's ready for a Steam page. We'll talk once we get some more like key art and stuff like that, like an actual like concrete prototype in the game. I think at some point I would like to see if I can get like some crowdfunding, build a team, etc. But I'm not really at that point yet. Yeah, being a game dev is hard. It's hard, but it can be rewarding just because it lets you be creative. It's why part of the reason why I like it is because I like it because I can be creative. Programming is not, there's not a whole lot of ways to be creative with programming, but the game development aspect does let you tap into your creative side. Okay, so now we got the healing spirit in the image type. Since it's a skill, target type is ally. Yep. Just got our code. Controller. Attacker.assist. And then I'll have to do current targeted ally. And current target, it's going to become current targeted enemy. I'm going to make a current targeted ally. One thing that Copilot does really well is that it does suggest things like this. I could choose to accept it or not. It's really cool. So this one, I'm just going to do current targeted ally, which will be current targeted enemy gets here. It's going to do current targeted ally is player 0, right? Just so I can hard code this for now. Yes. And then get the assist here. Now I go to player. I'm going to print. There we go. So if I go to here, 1, 2, 3, and it dies. Okay, let's see. Target the data that, yeah, it's just doesn't know what this is. Character dot character base does have a character name. Okay. Where was I? It doesn't always get it right. It's fine. No. Well, we get this wrong. Character name, target, data. It's base. Yeah, base. Okay, yes, so it does work. Heal 1. Okay, and it lets me continue to... Okay, so the pipeline works. Do I know the game Miside? I've heard of it. I haven't played it, though. Alright, so we got the pipeline in here. What I do is copy a lot of this code. I know, I gotta refactor it. I'll refactor it later though. So this is I guess you could combo them, right? And then our animation, this battle player. How long do you think it took to make that game? You mean Misi Day specifically? I don't know. I don't know enough about the game. Um, Games varies. It varies. Varies based on team size, team experience. It varies based on the scope of the game. Could be like a 2 or 3 year project. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I don't really know very much about the game, so it's hard to say. Okay, so we got... So yeah, it's the same code. Let's go ahead and see what happens. I just want to see if she does the animation. She does. Okay. Okay, cool. So she does the animation. It does nothing, but that's good. So one thing I'm going to have to do is do a little bit of refactoring. Controllers, player, enemy, player. I'm going to see if I can do something like this. Class name, battle, entity, extend, character, body, 3. Okay. Enemy. Yeah. So if I did... Well, enemy, I did... Okay, it seems like that works okay. Yeah, the server has to refresh. Sometimes it does that. What did I do before becoming a video game programmer? For a long time, my dream was to make games. So I was being a kid for the most part before I became a programmer. That being said, my career took a little bit of a different turn, so I became a software engineer. So yes and no. I've been so I guess you could say being a software engineer, I still am. And I don't know if that side of me is ever going to be, gone. Because I mean, even if I didn't work at my day job, I would probably still be doing software engineering in some ways because I enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to think how does refresh? I guess I'll just go to... Yeah, controller, enemy. Yeah, sometimes this just doesn't... I'll just reload VS Code. I think it worked this time. Yeah. Okay, and there's nothing in here. This is just to make sure that I can do... Yeah, let me explain what I'm doing. So I made this assist stub. I actually probably don't even need it. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just trying to add a little bit of stub code here just to say, okay, target the first player with the heal animation. And then eventually we're going to make it so that it like actually heals. It's going to do damage, I'm pretty sure at first, but eventually I'll make it so that it actually heals. But I had to do a little bit of code changing first. I had to... So if I go to the controller, I created this stub that says, okay, this create art function happens whenever the player clicks the button to like say I want to heal. When that happens, it sends a signal to the controller. Where is it? There's a request art. Yeah, request attack. Here we go. So there's this request attack function. Yeah. No, I'm happy for you. Yeah. English. I'm a native speaker, so I can't really relate to the experience, but it's great that, yeah, you're understanding more of the English. I think just immersing yourself in more English-speaking things helps a lot. My grandfather was from Cuba. He was native Spanish speaker, but when he moved to the States, he learned fluent English just basically by watching television and interacting with people. So it can happen. But keep up the good work. So what I'm doing here is saying, okay, yeah, so the player sends a signal saying, controller, I am attacking. And the controller needs to know that the player is attacking so it could send the target information to the player. Because the player does not know who the target is. So the controller also should be aware of and should be intercepting events like that so it can control the flow of battle. So that's why I have a signal rather than just like having the player send something or just handle it itself. So here is just the basic art, the special, special 2, special 3. So once the controller receives this event, it goes to request attack, which ends up here, this create art. And then what I'm saying is if the target type is an ally, call the assist function, otherwise call the attack function on the targeted enemy. So now once we get to here, we get to the assist function, and it does its normal thing. What we do need to do, though, however, is we need to refactor this art animation code, because this takes a battle enemy, and it takes so what we needed to do is it needs to target a battle entity, what I just made. So actually, yeah, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm not working on Flick at the moment. Flick was a platformer game that I made a little bit back. It just kind of made like a couple levels of it. I decided to switch gears to this RPG I'm making now, just because it's a much more interesting game to me. Here, I can show you. So right now, it's really just kind of like this small combat prototype where it's turn-based, where you have like an energy meter, but you can attack as long as you have energy, and then it swaps to the next character. The enemies don't do anything right now. But but I just kind of keep doing attacks. The main really loop of the game, of the combat system, is that you collect these little red, green, and blue points. They're called aura, and they allow you to use your more powerful attacks. So I'm just using my regular bow attack, but once I have 3, I can use this like more powerful bow attack. And I just basically use the basic attack, accrue aura, and then I do my other attacks. And the idea is that you can control which characters you want to do that, and you can form combos to try to defeat the enemies on the field. So that's basically what it is right now. It's very early prototype. Yeah, so a single player controls multiple characters, yeah. So it's like a more real-time... You could describe it like that. It's like a JRPG. It's a hybrid turn-based action RPG. So like every turn is an action, basically. Like I do stuff. But the way I could strategize around the characters, just kind of moving around and where they're placed. Yeah. It takes a lot of inspiration from regular JRPGs, but also games like Fire Emblem. So that's probably where you see sort of like the Fire Emblem-esque inspiration. So my goal is to make it more, robust, add a lot more features, arts, characters, and stuff. And eventually I gotta add enemy logic to the game, which I still have to design a bit more. Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking. I mean, I'm always happy to share about my game. So let's see, so what I'm doing right now, actually, is I'm trying to implement this heal art. So right now you saw basically the bow attacks, you saw this like light-based attack that I have. Had this like 3 triple arrow shot attack. What I want to do is implement this healing thing. And right now, I have to update my code so that I can target players and heal them. Because right now, all my attacks target enemies. And that's not going to work with healing. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So I'm actually going to remove this function. And I'm going to make this battle entity. Target is a battle entity. And then let's see, init attacker target. And what I want to do is we'll eventually update this here. This is the logic for the actual art to do things. But I'm going to go here. This is the attack. Controller the player no longer has this assist function, so I'm just going to make it the attack function. I'll change the name later. Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles is also something I really enjoy. It does feel a lot like Xenoblade. It's less kind of like rhythmy than Xenoblade, but it's similar in that respect. I've played through all the Xenoblade games. Let's see. So yeah, ally. Okay, so let's see what happens now. I probably have to. Okay, is this working? Okay. Okay. Okay, and if I click heal, I die. Okay, so there's an attack point. Okay, so target. Okay, so this is good. I've just found a bug. So basically, what happens here is that enemies have what this little attack point. I'll show you what this looks like. This attack point is just like a little marking. This is where like the attacks spawn on them. The character does not have one, so I have to add one on the character. So I'll do that. So copy this. Whoops, I want to go boop, player battle, attack point. Yep, that's fine. Keep it like that. And there's an attack point here. Attack point, yeah, it's right in the middle. That works fine. So yeah, so she has one now. Go to enemy attack point. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this code and move it to our entity. Get attack point. Now we got entity, got that going here. Enemy, I can remove this. Remove that. Yeah, music does a lot to convey emotion in video games. It's really good. I have a friend who's a composer as well, and I'm hoping I could get him on the project at some point, but we'll have to see. All right. So what are we looking at now? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, right? So now this particle spawn on her, but it doesn't heal yet. So we have to do that, right? So there's this art animation code that says apply damage. It's going to be, whoops, oops, all right. So there's this damage, right? So we're going to have to overhaul this here, but it's going to be art that might. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So she'll take damage rather than heal. But I'll have to. So she didn't actually take any damage, so. Let's see. Take damage. So take damage, right? Okay, because the player doesn't have a take damage. Okay. So we'll have to move this to the battle entity. Where's that? So there should be a data. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of already over here for HP. For HP max. Energy and energy max. Okay, and then there's going to be something like this. The character change is manual or automatic? A little both, actually. Is this like here? I'll play around with this a little bit. I'll create a take damage function. Here for short term. So take damage into critical build. Let's see. So I'm actually going to put in the art. It's critical. Character, enemy. Alright, so target. Okay, yeah, so I have to mess with this. Okay, so there's a bit of, let's just do HP plus 10. Alright. And then see what happens there. The character change is a little bit of both. Okay, so I did blow this up. Okay. I'm gonna to Yep. So there's a few other things I gotta do, and there's a lot of refactor I'm gonna have to do. I am actually going to have to hop off the stream. I have to head out somewhere. I appreciate everybody who hopped on, and thank you for hopping on. I will probably finish the rest of this offline, but I hope you enjoyed the stream one way or another. Got something out of it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. So thanks, everybody.